Hi guys, me, Rusty 78609 in Central Texas, US of A. It is 7:48 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I have already done my walking. I walk 1 mile, 1 hour every morning, and I just got back. And the reason I started so early is because in Central Texas it's starting to get hot, and if you're not through walking by 8 a.m., you are toast. So anyway, it's 8 a.m. Right now it's about 75 degrees, which is nice. So that means I did my walking between the temperatures of 68 and 75, which is very nice. And what else is going on? I got a video today about volunteering at national parks. For those of you that full-time RV or any kind of camping or traveling, a good way to make some extra money and see some beautiful places is volunteering at national parks. And the way you get more info about it is you go to volunteer.gov, and it'll show you every available volunteer position in the whole United States for national parks, national forests, Bureau of Land Management, Corps of Engineers, and probably some state parks. So if you can't find one there, you're not going to find one anywhere. Some of them pay a per diem or reimburse your expenses of anywhere from $10 to $50 a day, depending on which organization you work for. With national parks, I got as much as $25 a day, like 15 to 25. I think, yeah, I think every place I volunteered, but it's been like 3 years ago, was $25 a day. They cut back on some of that, but I understand now it's coming back. Bureau of Land Management, they're better as far as the per diem, and they have some really remote sites and some beautiful areas. You really might want to check them out. But anyway, I'll tell you about my experience at two places that I did volunteer for a total of about 5 months. The first place I volunteered was, and you've probably never heard of it, Gila Cliff Dwellings. It's spelled Gila, but it's pronounced Gila because in Spanish a G is an H. Gila Cliff Dwellings. It's north of Silver City, New Mexico, in the Mogollon Mountains. And the name of the people that were there supposedly was the Mogollon, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. They have free hookups while you're there, plus they pay you an expense reimbursement, which I don't know what it is now. Probably not much. And anyway, I volunteered, went out there, and I didn't stay in the campground in an RV. I stayed in a dorm. The reason is I just didn't want to pull my RV. I'm single, and so I thought, well, hell, I'll just go out there and stay in the dorm. Because the dorm I stayed in you have your own bedroom, and you share a bath with either one or two people. And in my case, I was in the kind of the back of the unit, and I shared the bathroom with one other guy, and and then he left after a month, so I had the whole back end of the building to myself, which was great. And but dorm life is what it is. It's not that great. They have two refrigerators, plenty of places to cook, plenty of places to store, your food and so forth. So that was never a problem. Nobody ever stole your crap or anything like that. The dorm life was okay. So Gila Cliff Dwellings, as far as living accommodations, whether you're in an RV or stay in a dorm, they're okay. As to what a daily routine consisted of, well, from the time you got up, and of course, whatever you did for your own breakfast, you did on your own. And let me pause this just 1 minute. I'm making some tea, and my pot is starting to boil. Okay, guys, I'm back. Anyway, I make me some green tea every morning. But anyway, I was talking about the daily routine at Gila Cliff Dwellings north of Silver City in New Mexico, where you can volunteer. And the daily routine is, of course, you get up, fix your breakfast, do whatever your morning stuff is, and then you would meet at the park headquarters, which was just a short walk from the dorm where I was staying. If you were staying in the campground, you had to drive over. But anyway, so you'd go down there, and they'd have a little meeting, and there were usually, I think at the time I was there were probably 8 volunteers total. There was one guy in maintenance, and then the rest of us worked at the dwellings. And of course, they rotated days off. You worked four 8-hour days, 32 hours a week, and you get 3 days off, which was good. And the job was, you didn't work hard. It was nothing to it. Most of the time, you just sat on your ass. But anyway, you either worked at the dwellings or in the little retail store, and they rotated that around. I never even had to work in the retail store. I always worked up at the dwellings, which I thought was much better anyway. Anyway, what you do, then you go from the uh, park headquarters. Two of you each day would rotate, and this would rotate. Would go get water to take down to the entrance to the dwellings, and it was just a big water container, held, I don't know, 5 gallons. And so you would take it over to the potable water deal and fill it up. But in addition to that, they put some drops in, some water treatment stuff. I'm not sure if it was iodine or what. And but anyway, it treated the water. Don't know for what, but because they said that was drinking water, and I was always wondering why they treated drinking water. There's a reason. They just never told me. But anyway, uh, then you would go down to the. Everyone would get. It was about a 2-minute, 3-minute drive from the park headquarters to the entrance to the dwellings, and you'd go there, and then you'd go inside, get your radio, check your radio, and then two would go clean the restrooms. There were two porta potties there, and one would sweep it out, and the other one would kind of wipe it down, put some fragrant around and shit. Took about a total to do both restrooms. The two people took about 10 minutes, maybe, or less. Nothing to it, you know. And then the others would be picking up trash in the parking lot or cleaning out their little museum. There was a museum, and they'd dust stuff and stuff. So there was a little routine there that took about, I don't know, if you goofed off, it took a half an hour. And then there were four that would stay at the site, which I did, and two would be at the entrance, and then two would be up at the dwellings. And the way you got up to the dwelling, the cliff dwellings, was there was a path that went up the mountains one way, across the front of the dwellings, and then back down and came around another way back to the entrance. And so to check the trail every morning, what you would do is you'd send one person up each direction, and they'd go around and then go up to the dwellings like that. So that way you would have totally checked the trail for debris or, problems, or maybe a tree fell across the path or stuff like that. And one morning we had a snake in the path and had to wait till it moved and all that kind of crap because they don't disturb anything, which is fine. And but anyway, and then you'd either stay at the entrance for half a day and then half a day up at the dwellings, and they rotated that around. So I was an interpretive ranger, which meant I did the tour guides at the cave, or the dwellings rather. And so if it was my turn to go up to the dwellings, I'd just go up the path, go up to the dwellings and sit right at the beginning. And then when people would come up for the tours, then I would take them on the tour and explain, blah, blah, blah. It took about an hour to go through the whole routine. And I think they did 2 tours a day, it was actually fun. I enjoyed meeting all the people. I thought it was great. And then the other person that was not doing the tours would be at where the dwellings were, the main section. And then they would rake the area. There were some places you raked, and you checked for trash, and whether somebody had been there the night before. You looked for tracks and stuff, which there never were. And that's pretty much it. And then you'd go back down at lunchtime. You got an hour off, so you'd go back down, go eat your lunch, come back, and stay down. Then the other two would go up. I think that's the way they had it set up. And so that, you got a full hour for lunch, and it was really chilled. You sat down there by the entrance. That's it. I sat on a little fence, and visited with people as they came up. And you're close to the Continental Divide Trail, so you do get people passing through there that are walking the Continental Divide Trail, and that's very interesting to talk to those folks. So anyway, that is Gila Cliff. That was the day. At the end of the day, you finished the day about 4:30, and you ended up back at the dorm, before 5 o'clock, and you got 3 days off. A lot of fun, not bad. Got to meet a lot of people. The next place I volunteered, and I'm trying to keep this short, is another place you've never heard of. And the reason I chose these places you've never heard of is because I didn't want to be in a national park where it was so goddamn busy. I had to really work. Okay, I wanted to I wanted to do nothing. So uh, anyway, so Gila Cliff Dwellings gets about 50 or 60,000 visitors a year. I could be wrong on that. That's my guess. I think that's right. And that's one of the things you did at the entrance. You kept a count of the visitors that came in and and reported it every day. And Hovenweep, which is near the Four Corners area of the United States, which is, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. They call that the Four Corners, where all those states meet. And and just north of there, on the Utah-Colorado border, is a little national monument called Hovenweep, 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 and it's another area where there's old Indian dwellings, or excuse me, Aboriginal uh, dwellings, because you couldn't say Indians because Columbus didn't discover India, okay, and so we called them the ancient ones or whatever. If we knew the name. In fact, these people were basically Utes because that was the tribe in the area. But anyway, so at Hovenweep, which is it's 60 miles from Hovenweep to Cortez, Colorado, and that's where you did your grocery shopping. And here's another thing I forgot to say: at Gila Cliff Dwellings, to go to Silver City to buy groceries takes a full hour, a little over. Okay, remember that, because even though it's not that far in miles, you got to wind around through a forest road, and there's two ways to go. Doesn't matter which way you go; it's going to take you a little over an hour. They have everything you need in Silver City: Walmart, Albertsons, grocery stores, everything you need, no problem. As far as internet access out there at that time, they had internet access in the dorms, and as far as phone service, wasn't much. You had it, but wasn't much. You had to drive somewhere to pick up a signal. It's probably all changed now. As far as Hovenweep, you go there, and again, if you have an RV, they have a place for you to park, and you get that free, and you get 25. Back then, you got $25 a day. Same thing, 32 hours a week, 4 days a week. The daily routine there was a little different. I was an interpretive ranger there. I stayed in a duplex, which one side had 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, and the other side had 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. When I was there, there was nobody in my side, so I had the whole thing to myself. But if there would have been somebody there, it wouldn't have made any difference because you still would have had your private bedroom and a private bath, which is perfect. As far as the kitchen, it was okay. I never had to share it, so I don't have any experience about that. There was no television there, which was fine. Had my Kindle and some music and stuff, so I was cool. And it's a pretty place. It's about 5,500 feet, a little warm in the summer. Gila Cliff Dwellings is about 6,500 feet, and it's perfect in the summer. Uh, but anyway, the daily routine pretty much the same. In some ways, they had a campground there at Hovenweep. So what you do, you get up in the morning, and if you had the vehicle, so you rotated days on when you drove the area and or stayed in the park headquarters, and you would do half-day shifts. So if you had the vehicle in the morning, you would go drive through the campground and check, be sure everybody paid, and then go out and check the different outlying. They call them the outlying sites, and there were like 4 of them that you could drive. And it took a long time, and you'd spend all morning driving around. And or if it was your turn, you did it in the afternoons. The other half day you spent in the headquarters in the little retail store, which was nothing. It was pretty easy. Once you learn the routine, nothing to it. And but it was easy. And the same thing. I mean, you were either driving around in the park vehicle doing nothing, basically, or you went to the different sites and checked them out. I mean, you would check to see how many people were there, and you look for litter, and if anybody had disturbed the site, you reported it, and just the usual thing. You just look for troublemakers, which we never had any. I was an interpretive ranger again, even though I didn't do any. I did a couple of little tours, short, just on my own because we didn't have anybody doing formal tours. We'd have one girl that did occasionally, but not often. And so if people wanted to, me to walk around there with them, I would. It took to go around the whole rim of the site took about an hour. Leisurely walk, but it was really easy. It was a pretty walk around this little canyon where they built these little buildings and stuff, and it was interesting. And they had other places in the uh, outlying areas that had the same thing, but it was fun. 32 hours a week. So back now to get to the point. The point is if you're traveling in an RV or anything, I mean, if you just want to travel and live cheap, you can do it by volunteering at national parks, and there's people that do it. There's people that go from the north to the south. They winter in the north and summer in the south, working at national parks and Bureau of Land Management. Corps of Engineers usually requires a couple, but they pay the most money and they have the best deal. If you can get in with them, if you're a man and a wife, Corps of Engineers, check it out. The next tier, as far as making money, would be the Bureau of Land Management. They pay more. They have some really remote sites. They got one north of Las Cruces, Nevada, and I can't remember the name on it. I may think of it. It's the gone, but it's just north of Silver City. I mean, excuse me, of Las Cruces, and they got one at Daddle in New Mexico called Daddle Wells, which is a neat place. I checked that out. But again, go to volunteer.gov, the website, and you can find anything you want. I mean, if you want to volunteer, uh, believe me, they're there by the hundreds. You fill out some simple paperwork, go through a little interview over the phone, you're in. Because they're always looking for people. Basically, it's free labor to them. That site that they give you ain't costing them a dime. Most of the time, it doesn't have anything but water. They usually have electricity and water, usually. And they may or may not have septic. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So be sure and ask. Anyway, guys, that's enough on volunteering at national parks or national places. And I hope you enjoy your day. I'm going to enjoy mine. I got a few things to do. And thumbs up, carpe diem, adios amigos, and bye bye. You know, I guess you get crazy as you get older.